Crenshaw, and we are live from the 704 once again for the 31st edition of the 815 Exchange. It is good to be back. It is good to be back in the chair for another Monday of another great, honestly, it was a very good week in sports. A very good week to be a Polish athlete, and I'll get to that later, of course. As always, timestamps if you're looking for a certain section or a certain topic. I have provided those in the description, so you can just go straight to that and skip to it. My social medias are also in the description. We're going to try at the buzzer today, and we'll see how it goes, see how y'all like it. What else? Any more announcements before I get started here? Not that I can think of. So without further ado, let's get straight to it, and we're going to start off with college basketball. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached March, and we all know what March means in college basketball if you follow the sports. It gets crazy, it gets chaotic out here. It's conference tournament and of course NCAA tournament time. This is the moment when it gets interesting. Upsets galore, top teams falling, and we had some of those this week. But we're going to start off with the legend, Luka Garza, cements his last and final game at Iowa. Well, not his final game at Iowa, but his final home game at Iowa. He gets the win 77-73. Iowa gets the win over Wisconsin. Garza had 21 and 16. They had that nice moment after the game where they announced that they're going to be retiring his number. Dude might be National Player of the Year this year. Probably the greatest player, I think. If any Iowa fans are watching, y'all can, of course, correct me in the comments. But I would probably say he's the best player to ever, grace that jersey. So, yeah, big stuff from Garza. Big game from him. Beat a ranked opponent. Wisconsin's been tough. I feel like Wisconsin in the Big Ten, however, they've been kind of that team that the rest of the top teams in the Big Ten, they've all knocked off Wisconsin, but Wisconsin's lingered at that 20th ranked spot. But they're not good enough to knock off the top teams, but they're clearly shown they're good enough to be kind of in the middle of the road in what's a stacked Big Ten. Moving on, Baylor took on Texas Tech. Texas Tech has been floundering. I'm not going to lie, they've been all over the place. Mac McClung, since he had that hot start in January, has not been too hot. And he didn't have a great game here, neither did Terrence Shanahan Jr. or any of the great players for Texas Tech. However, Baylor went absolutely nuclear. 88-73, as I said, the score was. Maceo Teague had 35 points, and what I would have to assume is a career high 10 3-pointers. That is nutty, especially in the college year. 10 3-pointers for Teague. Jared Butler and Mitchell, of course, they have very good games. Mark Vital, I think, had a 10-point, 16-rebound game as well. Very good stuff from Baylor. Good recovery after getting nipped by Kansas not too long ago. But strong recovery there. We'll see what happens. Going back down to some of the non-majors. Loyola Chicago in their conference championship took out Drake. Shout out to Loyola Chicago. Shout out to Sister Jean. Looks like they're going, well, it doesn't look like. They are going back to the tournament. They get the win here. Have both been ranked at one point in time in this season, and both of them looked like, a lot of people were calling for a 2-bid for this. I think it's the NBC. I think a lot of people were calling for 2 bids here with Loyola Chicago and Drake, but Loyola Chicago gets the win. Cool to see. They caused chaos last time they were in the tournament. We'll see what happens this year. Michigan State, the number 2 team the past 2 weeks, has lost. On Friday, I believe it was, Friday or Thursday, Michigan and Michigan State played for the first time. Michigan gets the win. But, of course, everything has to be equal, I guess, in that rivalry. Michigan State upsets. Listen, Izzo in March, late season, Tom Izzo. You can run from it, you can dread it. He still arrives. And Michigan State, for all the Blue Bloods that have been terrible this year, like Duke, like Kentucky, Michigan State has clearly recovered the most and look like they're going to make the tournament, actually. Rocket Watts. A lot of people have gone back to calling him Mark Watts, as Rocket has not been living up to the hype so far this season. But he had probably one of his best games, if not his best game this year. He had 21 points. It was a big reason why the Spartans got the win over the Wolverines. Huge win. Michigan will take a little hit. Gonzaga continues, I guess, to get more chance to separate. We'll see what happens in the tournament. Because one of the things could be, as a result of their conference not being one of the major conferences or being a Big 10 or Big 12 quality this year, is when they get to the tournament, they could have some hiccups, finding teams that are actually going to put up a challenge. So that'll be an interesting storyline to look out for. Keeping it in the Big 10, Illinois beats Ohio State, who have kind of fallen off, if I'm being all honest. When it was time for them to take on the top teams, they weren't ready. They were not ready. Illinois gets to win 73-68. Andre Curbelo, shout out to Andre Curbelo of Long Island Lutheran High School. He got 19. He's looked very good. He's going to be a very good player for Illinois. Kind of knew that going into the season too. But as a long-term threat, he's going to be a very special player for them. Ayo Dosunmu returned from his, I believe, broken nose. He's all masked up. A lot of people were comparing him to Batman, but if I'm going to be honest, it looked very obvious to me what the comparison is. Ayo definitely looked like Static Shock. Am I the only one that saw Static Shock and not the whole Batman? With the mask, Ayo Dosunmu definitely looks like Static Shock. For my kids that grew up in that time, I think you'll see the vision. Even now, if you didn't, you still probably see the vision. But Ayo Dosunmu most definitely looks like Static Shock with the mask. He played like a superhero, though, and he's been a superhero his whole career for Illinois. Big win, should move him up the rankings, especially with Michigan losing. It's getting a lot very interesting in that top 5, getting very interesting. One of the biggest rising teams and possibly a dark horse here as we get to the tournament, Oklahoma State has been scorching hot. They just took out West Virginia, top 10 West Virginia, 85-80, and they did this without quite possibly the best player in the country, and of course, #1 pick candidate Cade Cunningham. Cade was injured in pregame warmups; he had to sit out. Instead, Avery Anderson III went off for 31. Huge game for OK State against a very good, a very impressive West Virginia team. So that's huge. OK State continues to rise up the rankings. They're looking like a dark horse. If I had to pick a dark horse, especially in March when one player, as we've seen over the years, can really kind of take over a team and push them to that next level, and they have that type of guy in Cade Cunningham, Oklahoma State definitely one of my teams to look out for. Most definitely one of my teams to look out for, and really should be on your radar if they are not already. And to finish off my college basketball section, I don't cover the girls very much on this, the women very much on this, but I have to. When a 336 legend puts on, I have to show my respect. So big shout out to Elissa Cunane and what should be a now #1 seed confirmed NC State team, as Cunane and the Wolfpack traveled back to the 336 in Greensboro, because that's where the tournaments are. Same thing with the men's tournament in the ACC. And NC State gets the win over a very good Louisville team, 58-56. I don't know exactly what play they were trying to run at the end. Honestly, I would have just given it, Dana Evans, ACC Player of the Year, National Player of the Year candidate. Honestly, don't know why Louisville there was 3 seconds to go. Inbounded to Dana, let her do what she does, and that's probably the best, form of shot. Instead of throwing it across the court, it goes out of bounds, you have a second left, and you just kind of have to force it. I think that'll give them a better opportunity. But nonetheless, Alyssa had 29, so shout out to the Northern Guilford native. I'm not sure why she wasn't a higher ranked prospect coming out. I'm not going to lie. She won All Area Player of the Year 3 years in a row, and that is not an easy feat in the 336 area at all with the type of athletes we put out. So I kind of knew she was special from the beginning. I think everybody that was around, not even just that Northern Guilford program, but watched her play back then, knew she was special and should have been a much higher ranked 5-star in the rankings. But nonetheless, she's putting in work now and is one of the best players in the country. But shout out to NC State, shout out to the Wolfpack. They get the win in the ACC Championship. Now let me go to the combat sports world. And of course that means what was one of my highly highly, highly, highly anticipated matches, highly anticipated cards of the year, and that is UFC 259, ladies and gentlemen. And we're just going to get straight to it. Main event, Jan Blachowicz takes on Israel the Last Stylebender, Adesanya. And I know I said on this podcast, on episode 30, I said it, I'll admit it, I'm not going to duck from it. I did say I thought Izzy was going to edge it out last week, but I'm not going to lie, and I actually forgot to do my predictions on TikTok. I had probably the busiest week of college I have ever had in my life. My professors were giving out work like it was October and it was Halloween and the work was candy. It was ridiculous. But nonetheless, anyway, Izzy versus John. I did say I thought Izzy was going to win, but I'm not going to lie, as we got closer and closer, watching those embeddeds and hearing that Izzy wasn't really gaining much weight, I did kind of change my pick. I really was thinking John was going to win. And John did win. I don't know about some of them scorecards, I'm going to be honest. I know a lot of people were wondering about some of the commentary from Rogan and DC, calling it bias or whatever, making a big deal about that. I had it 3-2 on my watch. I forget which combination of rounds. I think I had Izzy taking the third, absolutely. John obviously won the fourth and the fifth with that ground game, which was smart. It was smart. You're never, even though John, don't get me wrong, I think he was actually outstriking Izzy, but I still wouldn't. You're not going to win. John realizes he fought a very smart fight. You're not going to beat Israel Adesanya, no matter what. You're not going to beat Israel Adesanya in that octagon, in a striking or a kickboxing match. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. That is not your best way to get success. John did what he had to do. I know some people might not like it, but that's the fight game, John, and hey, Izzy, again, I know a lot of people don't like Izzy for his attitude. I've never really had a problem with it. It's entertaining to me. And I think some of it is just he's a Kiwi. He's from New Zealand. And he took it very well. He, didn't make any excuses about the weight. And him being probably around 20, almost 30 pounds less than John on fight night. And John just kind of overpowered Izzy on the ground. And like Izzy said, there were some technique things, even they pointed out on the commentary, that some people did not like. Izzy didn't have the greatest technique on the ground, wasn't his best performance, wasn't his night. It is what it is. Ultimately, honestly, watching that fight, even the rounds I had Izzy winning, I think for now he is much better suited to running 185 rather than going up to 205. I think that size, even though Izzy has the length and the height, he's one of the best in the world. This fight doesn't make me, also I want to point out, doesn't make me think any less of Stylebender as a fighter and as one of the best in the world on the pound for pound. Doesn't make me think any less. I think it makes me put more respect on John, even though I had a lot of respect for me to even think John was going to win. And I was trying to express that even when picking Izzy to win leading up to this. I think it means John deserves some more respect, but Izzy's just more well-suited for 185. He's the king there. He's one of the best if not the best in the world at that division. I'm not sure if anybody's better in their respective division than Izzy is at 185. That's what makes him one of the best in the world. That's where his home is right now. That's where he needs to stay. I think eventually, of course, like he said, he wants to still go up to light heavyweight. I think he needs to do it the right way, of course. You see John Jones, who they've been having back and forth. And also, I don't know why, with all due respect, John Jones, one of the greatest of all time, picograms, pending, and his off the, out of the octagon stuff. And again, I have a lot of respect for Bones, but I don't know why he's talking so much. I guess it's because, the people are saying Izzy might beat him or whatever. I don't know if John Jones is beating, a light heavyweight version of John Jones is beating Jan Blachowicz right now. And before you go crazy, oh, Chris, what are you talking about? Bones is one of the greatest of all. I don't know if you've seen John Jones lately, but this isn't prime John Jones. This isn't, I just took the title off, youngest light heavyweight champion, youngest UFC champion. of all time John Jones. This isn't Gus John Jones. This isn't DC John Jones. No. I'm not saying John's washed, but he's been very suspect. Honestly, he lost to Dominic Reyes. I was like, when that decision came out, he really lost to Dom. And we saw what John did to Dom. We saw what he did to him. I don't know, he wasn't even really winning the Thiago Santos fight. So, I mean, John Jones isn't, he's not, doesn't really have too much to stand on. And going up to heavyweight, I think he could see some problems, even though he's got, his brothers, of course, are used to that weight. And John, of course, he's tall. John's very big, like heavyweight. I still can see him struggling against a Stipe. And who's to say that Nagano doesn't send his soul to the moon, So I think John's going to get some struggles, and I think he's going to have to cool off of the top because he's not operating at optimal level either. But big respect to John. Think he can roll light heavyweight for a while. I think he beats Glover, though I'm very happy that Glover Teixeira will get the next shot. Izzy's going to be fine. No reason to panic. He didn't get embarrassed. It was a very competitive fight. I think he learned his lesson and learned some things that when he does go back up for it, that he can take from there. Got some very interesting fights still at middleweight, especially the rematch versus, I guess, either Rob or Paulo. Hopefully Rob. And I think it'll be Rob, but we'll see. But yeah, that was the main event. Moving on, and I can do this I have 3 minutes left on this timer. I can get this in 3 minutes because Nunes did this in way less than 3 minutes. Amanda Nunes, the greatest honestly, I don't even need to put women. She's one of the greatest mixed martial artists of all time. Let's be honest. She has completely cleaned out a division. Shut it down. Shut down 145. Megan Anderson, I was talking about it all week. She was a sacrifice. Honestly, she was a sacrifice. They had nobody else to fight her. They were like, you need to defend this title. Feed you Meg. Meg did not have a chance. Did not have a chance. Not a chance. This was a sacrifice. This was a legitimate sacrifice to the MMA god that is Amanda Nunes. Easy sub for her, just a completely dominant performance. She's just on another level than every other women's competitor in MMA. Just on another level. She's cleaned out divisions. There's really nobody left for her to fight, but she's 32, hasn't taken too much damage, just had a kid, so why not keep fighting? I guess maybe a trilogy versus Valentina, even though she's beaten Valentina twice. I have no idea who to put Nunes against. She's the GOAT. Just the best ever. And the stuff she's doing is going to be remembered in MMA for a very, very, very long time. All right, continuing on the most stacked card of the year, we had what was my most anticipated besides the main event, of course, and that was Aljamain Sterling versus Peter Young for the featherweight title. It was a very good fight. It was a very good fight going up to round 4, and then it happened. For the first time ever, ladies and gentlemen, a man has lost his UFC title to a disqualification. It never happened before. I haven't seen it. Again, it's just something you wouldn't expect to see. Jan, I don't really... Listen, I will go off of what Khabib said. Jan's corner, and off of the footage they did show us. Jan's corner, I don't know what they were. Again, miscommunication. I guess they thought, I don't know. I don't know. They told Jan to go for it, and he knees Aljamain, but you cannot knee an opponent when they're on the ground. He knees him right in the head. Sterling clearly concussed, though he was probably hamming it up a little bit. You can't fault him. He was getting the title. I still don't think he wanted to obviously win the title that way. Nobody wants to win the title that way. It was supposed to be his big moment. Even though he was not winning the fight, I'm going to be honest, Jan was definitely starting to pick him apart. It was a great fight. Textbook stuff. I literally tweeted out like 2 minutes before it happened, Jan is always so composed, and then he gets DQ'd. Just unfortunate. Of course, they gotta run it back. They absolutely have to run it back because right now Aljo's just a paper champion, and I mean he's a great dude. He's a great fighter. He doesn't really deserve to have that label, but it is what it is. Just an unfortunate situation to what was a great fight. Jan is a killer, man. He's a killer, even besides the knee. Just unfortunate. Of course, you got to fix those communication things. I know the ref told him. I don't know. The corner, it sucks. I'm really speechless because it's like, it's not a moment. It's probably one of the most surprising moments in UFC history to ever happen. And yeah, it's just a situation that sucks. Puts a black mark on a very good fight. Islam Makhmudov gets the win over Drew Dober. It was completely dominant. I mean, just completely dominant. Islam looks like he might be next in that lightweight division. He's been tagged by the Dagestanis and Khabib as the next one. He looked like the next one. Time to give him some comp with all due respect to Drew Dober. This was no contest. Rakic and Santos was an absolute snooze fest. I thought we might see fireworks there. There was no fireworks. The explosions in this fight were pretty much like the AEW Dynamite pay-per-view last night. It was about on the same level as that. I mean, Rakic gets the win. He continues to move up the ladder. But, I mean, this was, again, snooze fest. I don't even really want to talk about it because it was just mediocre. It was mediocre. Okay, now to just kind of speed through, I had to pull it up real quick. Speed through the rest. Dominic Cruz returned. He gets the win in the split decision versus Casey Kenny. That was a pretty good fight. Good to see the Dominator get back on the winning card. Song Yadong and Kyler Phillips. That one did deliver, I have to say. Kyler Phillips gets the big win against Yadong. He moves up. Definitely needs a ranking now, in my opinion. Askar Askarov looked like he's going to be a problem in that flyweight division. I'm not going to lie. He dominates Joey B. Joey B just retired right off into the sunset with Megan O'Leary. Listen, solid career, but your time is up. Respectfully, your time is up. Kai Kara France in an absolute out of nowhere KO / TKO, and then of course we had some classic Herb Dean housery. Just classic stuff from Herb Dean, not knowing when the fight was closed. Kai Kara France basically showing and being his own ref in this fight. The thrown mouthpiece by Barzal after Kara France came back. I mean, if you just go watch the ending of that fight, that was hilarious. But KKF somehow just pulls it out of nowhere. Tim Elliott versus Jordan Espinoza. We do not like women beaters out here, and Tim Elliott put on, for the people that do not like women beaters out here, Jordan Espinoza, you had it coming. If you know, you know. Carlos Ulberg gets absolutely, listen, Ulberg's got potential. City Kickboxing went 1 for 2, which is not something you see a lot. Ulberg got potential. You could see the City Kickboxing. For those that don't know, that's Izzy and Kai Kara France's. That's their gym. You can see the potential in the striking. He was putting together some nice combos. You saw it. I saw the potential, right? But he has to work on defense. He had no defense. And Kennedy Nchukwu just showed off a great chin, and he was big. Dude's massive light heavyweight, by the way. 6'5". Dude looked like a heavyweight in there. Anyways, he was able to take the punishment, and then he was able to deliver it. Aubrey's got to work on his defense and his footwork. And he needs to work on his cardio because he was gassed as well. There's some potential there, but some things to work on. Nchukwu, big win. Great job showing his chin and getting a win against an emerging prospect. But, ladies and gentlemen, that is UFC 259. Next up is Stipe versus Ngannou 2. Very excited about that one. Then coming later in the month. And of course, we'll talk about that one here on the 815 Exchange as always. UFC 259 was a card of the year. We'll see. It's a contender. There was some certain things that, just kind of prevented it from being as good as it was. I probably hyped it to be like best card of all time, but still probably one of the best cards of all time just by the sheer numbers of good fights and good fighters we saw, and a very wholesome main event, which happened really the way that I think it really deserved to go, with John staying champion 205. Izzy goes back to be king of 185. I think that's a very good ending. And with that said, we now move on to TV and music. Spoiler alert, as always, I gotta drop that. Don't want to spoil you guys. We got the season finale of WandaVision, and of course, episode 13 of Attack on Titan. So, skip ahead if you got to. Now, WandaVision episode 9, season finale. Honestly, this is one of the best things that WandaVision is one of the best things that Marvel has ever put out content-wise. It was great. It's very much so increased my hype for the Falcon and Winter Soldier series, hoping that also continues to keep up the quality. Interesting season finale. Mephisto was not involved at all. X-Men Pietro, Evan Peters Pietro, was literally he was Agnes's husband, Ralph, and it was all for a boner joke, which stings a little bit, but we do know business is coming. We'll see what happens there. Wanda gives away everything, but we saw Tommy and Billy were not all gone at that ending. If you stayed for the post-credit scene, of course, we're going to see her in Doctor Strange's upcoming movie. She's more powerful than Strange, so that'll be very interesting. We saw she was astral projecting and going through that, reading that book that Agnes was talking about that had that entire chapter, and about kind of, her powers, really trying to figure out her powers. That was a very good, I like how they resolved both of those with her setting up basically her own, thing in the dome, so to speak, so that she was the only one that could do the magic. I think it was a very clever way, very clever way. Yeah, set up her own dunes, in the dome, and made that so Agnes could use her magic. I think it was very clever. Same thing with the Vision versus Vision. I think that was a very clever way. Of course, Vision versus Vision is solved by a physiological argument, and that's how that happened. He also gave the new Vision his memories. However, that Vision does not have the emotional intelligence yet, so we'll see what happens there. A lot of storylines branching off. Of course, we saw Talos' daughter show up at the very end from Monica. We'll see what happens there with Captain Marvel and Photon now. Honestly, very good series. If you haven't watched WandaVision and you've been watching all of this, highly recommended. Very good stuff. Made my Disney Plus subscription worth it. I can certainly say that. But yeah, good stuff. Very interested to see what happens next with the Scarlet Witch and everybody, including Jimmy Woo and Darcy and Billy and Tommy and everybody. So also like that they did not get rid of Agnes or Attica. Gonna be cool to see her come back because she knocked it out of the park. But yeah, Attack on Titan episode 13 season 4. Gabby, listen, man. I got real angry, but I gotta let the story be told. Concerning young Gabby, I have to let it be told. Have to let it go. I was very much so enjoying though Nicolo going ham on her after it was finally revealed that Gabby was the killer. I think she's in a culture shock right now. She has been calling them devils. She's so filled with hate over her 13 years of being told that these people are the worst creations ever created. So I get it. I do also have a little part of me that wishes Nikolai had not hit Falco. Falco hadn't jumped in front and gotten hit by Nikolai, and that Nikolai had, put Gabby, and we've been smoking that Gabby pack like I talked about earlier. That would have been great, but that's not what happened. It is what it is. Aaron pulled up at the end with his hand already cut. I guess he can control, has more. Listen, dude is overpowered. He's so overpowered at this point. But it's kind of like holding a gun to your friends. He did the same thing with Falco and Rainier in the first episode of the season. But nonetheless, we'll see what happens. Finally, we get to see the big three talk. Gabby, of course, is there also. Levi and Zeke, the bestest friends, the frenemies. We got that situation brewing. Levi kind of regretting helping Aaron over the years, but he still has that connection, so we'll see what happens. It's getting very exciting. I think this was a very good episode. Of course, now we've got the thing with Zeke's spinal fluid. Might have leaked into Falco. We know it's into all of the top officers. Could this be Marley? We saw them show up at the end of episode 12. Could Zeke still be working with Marley? I don't know. Haven't read the manga. Next week, I was spoiled on something, and I'm not going to spoil it for y'all though, but I was wondering when this scene was coming, but now I know it's coming. And it's going to be very interesting to see the reactions to it. Though I will say, don't take it to heart. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to say the specific scene coming up, but don't take it to heart. It was purely for the situation, and you'll understand it later. But, yeah, Attack on Titan episode 13, one of my favorite episodes of Attack on Titan, possibly, and definitely one of my favorite episodes of this season. Good stuff from them. Alright, now we got to talk about music. I'm going to take a water break. I'm taking a water break for this. Because, ladies and gentlemen, finally, I've talked about it every single episode, it feels like. Since CLB was announced, it was supposed to be in January. It's March now. But, ladies and gentlemen, the sixth god has finally returned. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Drake finally dropped new music. Thank God. Thank the sixth god. Thankfully. I'm so very thankful. We had What's Next, we had Lemon Pepper Freestyle, and we had Wants and Needs. Again, 3 for 3. 3 for 3. Listen, he's my favorite artist if you didn't know or you couldn't tell by the reaction. I think it's part of kind of the same thing with LeBron being my favorite basketball player. I feel like I'm 20 years old for those that don't know. So it kind of feels like I grew up with them over the course of their career, right? I feel like as Drake's rise came, I was getting older. I was going through my teenage years, and now I'm 20, and he's, at this stage in his career. So I feel like I've been a part of the ride. I've been there for the ride. I've been here for the long term. I've seen how he's grown as an artist, been through everything. So it kind of established that connection. And man, it felt good. It felt good to hear these 3 tracks. Lemon Pepper Freestyle, of course, if you follow me on social media, you would know, was definitely my favorite out of the 3. Oh my goodness. I don't want to hear anything about Drake's pen. I don't want to hear anything about Drake not being able to rap. Like, you should not be able to have an opinion on hip-hop or music if you were saying this stuff in 2021. Lemon Pepper Freestyle, listen, him and Ross do not miss. Do not miss at all. I know there's some rumblings about a collab tape. I would love it. Honestly, they can just drop on a sample in some beat that makes you feel like you're supposed to be sipping on something, smoking something, and just in some lavish mansion with a black tuxedo on. Listen, if every single song is just them spitting for 50 minutes on it, I will eat that up. I'm not gonna cap. I would love it. But Drake and Ross do not miss. Lil Baby went ballistic on Wants and Needs. Oh my goodness. It was literally like the Bron and D-Wade thing where Drake did his thing on that first half, do the lob, and Baby just slammed it home. Oh my goodness. One of his best verses probably gonna be one of his best verses of the year. One of the best Lil Baby verses I think I've heard. He went crazy. And of course, the big one, What's Next also dropped a music video with that. It was a very good music video as well, I have to say so. If I say so myself, very impressed by that. I think the music video actually added. It was one of those situations where the music video added to the song and made the song better. Of course, What's Next has been leaked for a little while, but we got the complete version, that second verse though. But yeah, I mean, knocked it out of the park, 3 for 3. What's Next is supposed to be #1 on Billboard, which, really adds some precedence to that #1 on Billboard. Didn't need no bundle line. Listen, best in the world, does what he does. I got nothing else to say. Scary Hours 2, if you haven't listened to it, I don't know, you must live under a rock. Go ahead and listen to it. You're welcome. You can thank me later. Anxious by AJ Tracey. AJ Tracey also dropped. He dropped Anxious. Very good stuff. Apparently he's got an album coming out. I liked his first project this year very much, so enjoyed that. I talked about that earlier, I think in December. And yeah, Anxious, another great track from AJ Tracey. If you haven't already checked it out, highly would advise going to check that out. If you're trying to get into the British hip hop scene, AJ I think is one of the best out there. And yes, another good track from him. Continues the hot streak. Very excited about that album. If it's true, if those rumblings are true, Very excited. Of course, we'll have a review for that here on the 815 Exchange. Next on the music list, and what was a very good, probably one of the best weeks of music all year, if I'm being honest. Next is the highly anticipated Anderson .Paak Bruno Mars collab. Silk Sonic is what they're calling themselves. They had the intro and Leave the Door Open. Bootsy Collins brung in for the intro. But Leave the Door Open, I mean, this lives up to the name, it lives up to the hype. You know, just, this was one of the smoothest things I've heard in a while. It was smooth, like, it was silky. It was so silky. It was so silky, so wavy. Leave the Door Open, it was basically what you would expect. That album is going to be insane. Probably going to be one of the albums of the year, or at least one of my albums of the year. But completely different from what anybody else is doing. And when you hear the names Bruno Mars and Anderson, you know, in a collab, it's what you expect. You expect it to be smooth. You expect it to be just you know, some, you know, how do I afford this? Some kind of retro a little bit. You expect that retro sound, but with those two sounds, it just blended perfectly. And Leave the Door Open in the intro to get the feel for what the album will be, for what the song is going to be. Just good stuff. I'm very excited about the album. If you haven't listened to it already, you're looking for something smooth, because that's the only word that is right for me to describe this track. Go listen to it and enjoy. I heard a lot of people calling it another addition to the sex playlist. I'll leave that up to you. If you want to add it there, you know, a lot of people that I know that have. But hey, it was smooth. Silk Sonic. I think that song even like my parents would like. I think they would like bang with that. Honestly, it was just. It's like something you hear in like the '90s. But nonetheless, good stuff from them. Lil Baby also dropped with SG or ESTG. I'm not sure how exactly to say that. But anyways, G and Baby dropped. Real as It Gets. Solid track from them. Wasn't my favorite Lil Baby song. I'm gonna be honest, was not my favorite. I can't act like it was my favorite. But I think it was very solid. More good stuff from Baby. Did what he does. G did what he does. Nice to see him rise. Rotten with him and Jack Harlow, one of my favorite songs on Confetti. Route 66 was one of my favorite songs on Harlow's last project. So yeah, impressed so far by ESTG. And of course, Lil Baby, my artist of the year. Honestly, with all due respect to Megan Thee Stallion. Wow, I'm about to be talking about Megan Thee Stallion with the next person I talk about here quite a bit. But with all due respect to Meg, Lil Baby should have won some of them artists of the year she got. But nonetheless, that's 2020. We're in 2021, and more heat from Lil Baby so far. Though I will say his Wants and Needs collab with Drake, I think I like better than As Real as It Gets. But a 2 fire verses. If you haven't already, go listen to it. They also dropped a music video, so go check that out. And now, ladies and gentlemen, and I have to do a disclaimer for this next person, of course, because he does have a pending case against a woman of stallionistic proportions and is not in great favor. Once again, Tory Lanez has dropped what he's calling a capsule. This one called Playboy. I know for a lot of you, he's not in favor. So, welcome to another edition of I Listen to It So You Don't Have to. Of course, my feelings on his music are separated from him as a person because we don't know the details. I stay neutral in these situations. Feel free to leave. It's okay. I'm fine with being the villain. That's why it's in my bio on basically every social media. I've been villainized before. Being villainized now because of me staying neutral in a situation we have no idea about. Hey, that's fine with me. You go do what you do. But back to the music. Again, though I will say, if it comes out and he's guilty, none of this really matters. But anyways, back to I Listen to It So You Don't Have to. Tory Lanez, Playboy. This is music for this is for the sad boys, ladies and gentlemen. This is ironically it's titled Playboy, but this is all in the Feels playlist. This is music for if you have been scorned by a woman and she has hurt you. This is for all of my boys, my fellas out there. If you are in pain, this is the album for you. This is like if Marvin's Room had a bunch of children and it was dropped on a about 13-song album. And honestly, it was very, very good. I can't lie to you. I'm not going to lie to you, despite how I may or may not feel about Tory. I'm not going to lie to you and be like, oh, this was trash. I did not listen to this on Friday, the day it came out, because let's be honest, Drake dropped. And if Drake dropped, he's getting the first spin, he's getting the second spin, he's getting the third spin. He probably even got the fourth spin before I even got to Anderson and Bruno, which was what I did to break up me before I went straight back to Scary Hours too, if I'm being honest. But I eventually got to this Tory album, and honestly, it was very good, very good. I'm gonna give it I've been battling between an 8.8 and 9. I'm gonna drop it at an 8.8, which is still very good. Probably gonna be one of my higher reviewed albums of the year. It was very good. This is perfect for that time and place. If you are in pain, you feel scorned, she played you out, she is with her ex, and you know that he ain't, and that you're supposed to be with her. For those out there that are feeling like that, this is the album for you. My favorites right now off of it are the Serve Anthem and Distance. I think those are my two favorites right now off of the album. But, I mean, very good album. Of course, like I said before, this don't mean nothing. Just like I said for his previous project that he dropped last year after the whole Meg situation. He's guilty. This doesn't matter because he's a bozo. But I had to stay neutral for now, out of respect for all parties involved, and just for not, jumping and canceling anybody just to cancel anybody. I am staying neutral, and from a pure music standpoint, this is a very good collection of work. So impressive stuff from Tory. And yeah, that caps a very, very good week in music and a very good week in TV. I'm almost done with Bridgerton, which is what I've been watching on Netflix. Send me some show recommendations, actually, because I'm almost done with that. I think I have one episode left. So send me some Netflix, or really actually just any shows you think I should check out that I haven't talked about on here or you think I haven't seen. Feel free to drop that in the comments. Much appreciated. Now, let's go to the soccer world. Yes, soccer. I'm not going to talk too much about this because I talked about it last week. I kind of jumped ahead on Champions League, so I won't talk too much about it here. But I will talk about the two derbies. We had Der Klassiker, which, if you're not German, that means the classic between Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund, the two biggest clubs in Germany, with some of the best players in Germany and some of the best players in the world. I'm talking, of course, about Robert Lewandowski and the machine, Erling Haaland. And Haaland started off hot. 2 goals in the first 10 minutes. It looked like a classic Haaland performance. He gets the brace, but Bayern Munich is the best club in the world for a reason, ladies and gentlemen. They are the best club in the world. And Robert Lewandowski, as of right now, is the best striker. And with the way he's playing, quite possibly the best player on the planet right now. Just off of form. Dude's been unreal for the past year and a half. I mean, he's been unreal for this whole career, but he's been on another level this past year and a half. He gets the hat trick here in the Klassiker. 4-2 win for Bayern. Goretzka also scored. They just pulled away, man. Dortmund went up 2-0, and there was this impending sense of doom. You just knew Bayern was going to show out, and they did. Lua, Hattie, dude's unstoppable. Haaland gets the brace, the machine. He's just a machine. It's a scoring machine. Going to be one of the best players in the world. Naturally, his chief competitor, Kylian Mbappe, scored a brace literally the next day, so got to keep it a competition. We'll see what they do in Champions League coming up. Man U also, again, it felt like it was rivalry week in the football world for my European viewers, or soccer for my Americans. Felt like it was rivalry week. We had the Manchester Derby as well, which had big implications, of course, in the Premier League. Man U wins the Manchester Derby, snapping what I've been talking about for the past couple weeks. Man City's insane. I think 24-game unbeaten streak, snapped by Manchester United. Bruno scores another penalty. Dude has been a revelation. I mean, has completely changed that Manchester United team. I can tell you it over and over again, and I still won't be able to tell you how much of an impact he's had on that entire club. Bruno gets the penalty. Luke Shaw scored as well. They get the win 2-0 against Man City. Huge win for Manchester United. Gratefully and massively improves their title hopes. They're looking like they might be the class of England. We'll see if they can collect and improve on their record number of Premier League titles, or if Man City can hop back in and they can get it back going, start another streak. They've been very good, even though they lost the derby here. Still, I mean, that makes them what, 24-1 in their last 25, which is still ridiculous. And as good as that team is, I think they'll be able to recover. Champions League this week, of course, like I said, we got Porto, Juve, Champions League Ronaldo, one of the most dangerous people in the world. Dortmund and Sevilla, Holland, PSG and Barca, Mbappe. We'll see if Barca can pull off a madness yet again and get 6-0 or 6-1 and just kind of make a comeback. Of course, we got Messi. And, of course, Liverpool taking on Leipzig. I think I got Liverpool. I picked Liverpool last week. I'm going to stay with that. Should be an interesting slate of games. Should be an interesting week in soccer. But, yeah, that's all there. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are at the NBA. And, of course, I'm talking about, before I get to the All-Star festivities and eventually branching into the new segment here, I got to talk about my boys in the G League bubble. First off, Kevin Porter Jr. going stupid. Don't know why he was in the G League. Dude is a monster. I know he got caught up, but first off, I had to give a shout out to KPJ. Hopefully he gets his attitude or whatever it is, the discipline issues. If he can get that sorted out, I definitely think he can be a star in this league. But the G League Ignite took it to the wire. Took it absolutely to the wire, but they do, in fact, advance and they do get to the G League playoffs, which is a surprise. I don't think it's something many people expected, but yeah. Jalen Green, I mean, even without Kuminga out, they get the win over the Austin Spurs. Jalen Green, talked about him. 1A, 1B with Cade. He's 1A, 1B with Cade. Isaiah Todd is really giving me right-handed Chris Bosh vibes. Really giving me right-handed Chris Bosh vibes. That's a good thing. That's a good thing for him. I think he's a very special talent. I think I was wondering how he was going to translate to the league. I actually thought he was going to translate very well to the NBA game. Something about him I felt like with the right development, he could be a very good player. And he had his best game of the season when it mattered. They had on, of course, they're going to get the number 1 seed in Raptors 905. So this is probably their last game. But it was fun. The Ignite, big shout out to them. Great to see those prospects. Hope JK can get back healthy. But I think Jalen Green has definitely made a statement that he's definitely the best player on that team. Blake Griffin is headed to the Nets. I posted a TikTok about this that is doing extremely well. I think last time I checked, which was like an hour ago, it's at 300K in 16 hours. So, tooting my own horn a little bit there. Of course, follow me on TikTok at Chris_Ocho if you haven't already. Yeah, watch Blake Griffin's knees come back all of a sudden. And suddenly he's dunking again, and the Nets are just steamrolling. Listen, if the Nets do not win the championship after all of this, it's going to be embarrassing. It's going to be embarrassing. They will deserve all-time levels of slander if they do not win this championship. All-time levels. All-time levels. It will be a disgrace if y'all have all of this talent and somehow manage to not win the championship. There is no excuses. This is supposed to be, y'all are supposed to steamroll everybody. I know I talked about the rebounding and defense, and of course with Blake's current state, it doesn't really get improved there. But at some point, you just have too much firepower, and they've played pretty good defense over the past couple games, if I'm being honest. At this point, the defense just needs to be passable, and it looks like they might be able to do that. There is no excuse. There is no excuse. No excuse bar a catastrophic injury why the Nets should not be walking home with an NBA Finals championship this year. They should be NBA champions. No excuse. No excuse. None. Let's talk about the All-Star game. Team LeBron, as expected, overpowered. Just overpowered. They were the most entertaining part was, of course, Dame and CP3, and, of course, Steph, who is just a cheat code. He wins the three-point contest as well. Best shooter to ever live, obviously. They made the All-Star game exciting. Team Durant just looked miserable. Besides Jason Tatum played well, but they just looked miserable. It was a blowout. It was not a classic like last year. But, Team LeBron it was overpowering. It was a super team. LeGM back at it again with more assembling super teams, even in the All-Star team. They provided some entertainment, but Cassius Stanley got robbed in the dunk contest. I was kind of in and out of that, watching something else. Wasn't too enthralled by that. Anthony Simmons gets the win. Shout out to Anthony. But yeah, wasn't the greatest All-Star game, if we're being honest. It was a blowout. However, Team LeBron, that was quite enjoyable. In their whole theatrics and shooting threes from half court, because Dame and Steph have absolutely no conscience. Of course, even in the All-Star game with an Elam ending, we still hit Dame time. You know how this goes. Dame, one of the most dangerous people in the world. When it's time to win a game, who better than Damian Lillard? He closes it out. Braun was just chilling, basically coaching and laughing the entire time. It was great. It was great for them. Not great for Team Durant. We'll see what happens the rest of the season. This all brings me to kind of getting into the new segment. But first, I'm going to talk about my NBA midseason stuff before I get to my friends, which is a part of At The Buzzer this week. Embiid is my, I guess, and probably be a lot of people, Joel Embiid, definitely my midseason MVP. Dude's averaging 30 and 12. The Sixers have the second best record in the league. They were almost my team of the midseason, I guess you could say, so far, besides the Jazz being brilliant, so I had to make them in. But Joel Embiid, definitely my midseason MVP. You tell me how you feel about that. I think it's pretty inarguable. I think he's got to be the favorite so far. I know people have been talking about Jokic or LeBron, and sure they have cases, but I think Embiid has the best case. He's been dominant. The Jazz have been the most surprising team, and of course are my team with the midseason. Best record in the league. Mike Conley has made a world of a difference and really elevated that team. And we've seen them do a lot of great stuff so far this season. It's been very exciting to watch. If you're a Utah fan, and see how far that team's come with Rudy and Donovan and Bogdanovich. It's been very impressive so far. So shout out to the Jazz. They are my team in the midseason. And yeah, and now with me having covered my section in the NBA, and you've heard me talk for the past probably almost 50 minutes. How about we hear from my friends? Or, well, probably almost an hour, actually. This has been a very long episode, but a very good episode. Let's hear from my friends, and let's hear from you guys. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first edition of At The Buzzer. Now I get to hear from you. Of course, this is the exchange of information, so let me hear your thoughts. So I got some of my friends this week to send me some of their thoughts about the week in sports and entertainment, or specifically the NBA. So I will kick it over here and let's pull up what they had to say. My boy L had James Harden as the best point guard in the league, the Nets as the best team, and CP3 as the unsung hero. I'm not sure if I can totally agree. Y'all can tell me how y'all feel about that Harden call. Harden is the best point guard in the league. I think there's definitely an argument for it, though. I definitely think there's an argument for it, especially with the way we've seen Harden play since the Nets laminated him in as that point guard instead of Kyrie. We've seen how good he is. I don't know if I can put him over Steph and Dame, though. I don't know with the way Steph and Dame have been playing, and we know how good they are. But I think those are definitely the three best if we're going to start categorizing Harden as a point guard. I think, that's a pretty valid claim, and I think it's going to be interesting. I think at the end of the season, this is definitely something we might be able to say, but right now, I don't know if I can go with that. Y'all can let me know, though. Go crazy in the comments, you in the audience. You let me know how you feel about all of these claims that I'm going through, not just this one, but just tell me how you feel. This is what this segment is about. Harden, best point guard in the league. Y'all can say how y'all feel about that one. Nets best team, again, I think that's a very valid argument, especially after Blake. I had the Jazz as my team in the midseason because of the record and them being the most surprising team. But if I had to choose probably the best team in the league right now, especially after that Blake acquisition, I definitely would agree with saying, and agree with L in saying that the Nets are the best team, quote unquote, in the league. I feel pretty good about that one. CP3 as the unsung hero of the league. I'm enjoying, I talked about this before, I'm enjoying CP3 as kind of like this mercenary. He shows up on these teams and he just improves them. He's kind of showing the impact, and honestly this is more to his legacy as a player. How much better Chris Paul makes teams. Like each of these past few teams, OKC, Houston, he's made these teams better. And especially these last two with OKC last year, making them a playoff team, and they were a super young team. And now elevating Phoenix to, I think they're currently the second seed. And who would have thought that coming into the season? Even though they had the talent with D-Book and Aiton, he's really helped elevate those young guys into, what we foresaw their potential to be. And with CP3 coming in, it's just made a world of a difference. So yeah, CP3 definitely the unsung hero. My boy Zay said Embiid also is his first half MVP. Once again, I agree with that. I think most people would agree with that. Embiid has just been unstoppable. He's been dominant. Of course, y'all can tell me in the comments who is your midseason MVP and who your midseason best team, since we're talking about the NBA a lot here. And let's see, he had Harden as a second, which I think is an interesting case. Harden is somebody that hasn't really been talked about, especially on that Nets team. Like, more people you hear, I think, talk about KD had, up to this point, been the best MVP candidate because he's the best player, so to speak, on that Nets team in terms of MVP combos. But Harden probably has been top 3 player, top 2 player. You could very much so argue probably the best player for this past month, especially in February, the way he was playing. Like I said before, I think he definitely has an argument for the MVP case, and I think if he continues this, level of play, he's definitely going to be in an argument and definitely going to be a candidate to pick up another MVP on the mantle. And if Harden collects another MVP, and hold up, does he have 2? He's a one-time MVP. Okay. Harden's a one-time MVP, and with 2 MVPs on the mantle, if he pulls this off, I think this is very interesting in terms of us, ranking Harden among some of the greatest guards of all time. Of course, he still needs that ring, but with this Nets team, I think it's possible. Continuing on with my boy Eddie, he also sent in some stuff that he kind of wanted me to talk about. He said Steph should be in greatest of all time talks. I think, I'm not sure if I would put him in like the Jordan Bron tier, but definitely in terms of him as one of the greatest players of all time, I think definitely needs to be kind of, as we get closer and closer down. Of course, we got to see how he finishes his career, but so far I think it's pretty much undisputed. Dude's one of the best point guards of all time, obviously one of the greatest shooters of all time. I think we'll definitely be calling Steph Curry, with all the accolades, the championships, all this stuff, I think we'll definitely be calling Curry one of the top 15. You could probably make an argument by the end of his career, I think, maybe end up a top 10 player of all time. I could definitely see that for Curry. Don't know if he'll be the GOAT, like, we're talking about Jordan or Bron here, so to speak. Anything can happen, of course, but I don't know about that. But definitely is one of the greatest players of all time. Probably not the greatest of all time, though. But y'all can tell me how y'all feel. Maybe y'all like Flight, and y'all are big-time FTC, Flight Crew stand-up, and y'all think Curry is the GOAT. Hey, that's still free. Let me know. Go crazy about that. Want me to talk about college lacrosse? I'm a Duke fan, so I am well aware that we are the #1 college lacrosse team in the country right now. Shout out to Michael Sowers, came over from Princeton, probably would have been National Player of the Year and won the Terrariton last year. Definitely should win it this year. Hopefully we win the national championship. I feel like we're overdue. We got a special team with JT, Mike, all those guys. Special group so far, Knack. I'm really liking what we got. Hopefully we can get this natty, but yeah, good so far. Good start so far for Duke College Lacrosse. And yeah, that is the segments. Of course, you guys in the comments, hit me up on social media for the next week, and I'll bring your stuff up on here, and we can talk about it. Y'all can talk about it in the comments or me on social media. But yeah, feel free to send me your opinions, your hot takes, your whatever about the weekend sports and entertainment, and I will bring it on the podcast here. Or I might even talk about some of them on TikTok if you follow me there, or you put the comment on TikTok. Might answer some of them there. I'll give you my feelings, and of course then we can have a nice little back and forth and debates. But that is at the buzzer. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of the podcast. It is time for the roundup. Almost done here. Almost done. And we're going to try to speed run this. Spencer Lee and Gable Steveson. College wrestling. For those that don't follow, those are the two best. Two best in the business. They just won the Big Ten. Spencer Lee is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Dude is ridiculous. So much better than everybody else. Just so much just better than everybody else at 125. He's a monster. Probably should win the Hodge this year. Even with a guy like Gable. Gable, another special talent. Two guys that you could probably qualify as almost generational talents in the sport of wrestling. Gable, beast. Don't know if we've ever seen an athlete like that at heavyweight in wrestling. With all due respect to all of the great heavyweights, even guys like Kyle Snyder, just Gable's on another level athletically. Dominates Mason Parris, who was talking back and forth with him. Puts on for Minnesota, who haven't had a great year overall as a team, but Gable, he's looked the part. Of course, he's going for the Olympics. We'll see if he makes it. I fully expect him to win the NCAA championship this year. Same thing with Spencer, the two best wrestlers, I think, pound for pound in the country today. Kyle Larson for NASCAR. He wins in Las Vegas. Of course, Larson had that scandal last year. I believe in growth, so gotta take it from there. Big win. I've always been a very talented. I think he was going to take off last year before the whole scandal thing happened. And we'll see if he does this year. Of course, he's been Hendrick now. I think that makes that Hendrick stable just that much stronger. We've had a lot of, not as expected winners so far in NASCAR. It's made for a very interesting season so far, and probably going to make for a very interesting playoff. So we'll see if that continues. And lastly, in hockey, Matthew Barzal scored a ridiculous goal between the legs. I wish I knew how to skate so I could do something like that. Rasmus Ristolainen and Sabres. That poor team with Eichel and Hall. They've just been miserable. But Barzal, superstar for the Islanders. One of the best goals I think you'll see, even if you're not a hockey fan. I think you can appreciate it, the skill on it. And if you haven't already, go check that out. But without further ado, it was a packed episode 31 and hopefully a very good one. Remember to like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed. For At The Buzzer, again, leave your comments, leave your stuff on social media, which is the stuff you'll see, at the end of the outro. Those are my social medias or in the description. But as always, hope you guys have a great March, a great week. Hopefully I'm not as busy this week in college, but nonetheless, it was a great week in sports and hopefully a great episode of 815 Exchange. Ocho, signing off.